How you doing, sir?
Good, man. How are you?
Good.
Where's your mask?
Don't have one.
Why not?
I don't wear one for health reasons.
This guy doesn't have a mask.
I don't wear one for health reasons.
What's your health reason?
You cannot ask for proof of
Okay,
exemption.
public health, man. They'll deal with you.
Okay,
Yeah, send it public health. Send it public health. They'll deal with it. Are you vaccinated?
you can ask for that.
Well, we're asking for that.
It's private medical
Okay, you're going to
information.
public health. Send them public health. They'll deal with it.
Well, thanks for being so nice.
Yeah, no problem, man. For a job to be nice.
My name is Andriy Tryguba. I am a York University graduate from kinesiology with a Bachelor of Science. I am now applying to medical schools, so I'm a pre-med student, and this is something that I want to accomplish. It is my mission, it is my goal in life. However, with the current mandates and the current stance of our country, I'm unable to do so because I have to undergo a medical procedure. So that is the reason I'm fighting these mandates, and if I can do it, you can do it as well.
I'm Josephine Ieraci, founder of Concerned Students of Ontario, and I'm also a fourth-year university student at the University of Toronto. I'm studying art history, and I've also dabbled in classics, and I'm a fine artist as well. I'm fighting against these mandates because I've lost so many opportunities in my life, and I've realized this is bigger than just that. This is going to affect every single person, vaccinated or not, and we need to understand that, and we need to fight this now because things are not getting better.
You know, the people that come along and you write these tickets to, they're not just fighting for themselves, but for you guys as well, so that you have something for the future.
Hi, I'm Josephine Ieraci from Concerned Students of Ontario, and today I'm sitting here with Andriy Tryguba, a student part of our group who just returned from the Ukraine from visiting family. He's going to talk to us today about his encounter with the Canadian Border Services and why it's important to stand up to these mandates, especially since he also wants to return to school. So tell us about your experience returning to Canada.
Well, it was a fun one. It felt like I was a criminal immediately as soon as I approached the border security. The people that collect your passports. And as soon as they asked me for the mask and I refused to comply, and then they asked me for if I'm vaccinated and I refused to give out my private medical information, that was the moment they started to, instead of being nice to me like a Canadian citizen returning home and giving me a nice welcome, it was more like, okay, you're a criminal, you're going that way, and you're going through a different process than everybody else. So that's what it felt like. It felt like I was being prosecuted about something, a crime that I've done. And that was just kind of the vibe that I got from everybody at the airport. It looked like everybody was pissed off at me for not following their unjust rules.
Yeah, I watched the video and the tone they used with you. They
Yeah.
treated you immediately like you're a criminal. They were like so angry.
That's right, yeah.
Right.
It was funny to see.
Angry that you knew your rights and you knew the law because you told them calmly. You didn't even have attitude. You said, hey, I don't have to tell this to you. It's my right not to.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't take kindly to that. And so they gave you tickets. How many tickets did you receive?
So in total, I received 3 tickets. Each one is, with taxes, was over $6,000.
So was it worth getting the $20,000 fines?
Yeah, absolutely. It was 100% worth it. Why? Because I can look at myself in the mirror and tell myself that I did the right thing. Because I can't go home and knowing that I complied to something I don't agree with, to something that is against my rights, and knowing that I have rights in this country still, and I can use them and not be able to use them because of intimidation. It's completely against my principles, because my principle is simple. The purpose of life is to enjoy it, and happiness is in direct proportion to freedom. So the moment I decided to completely disobey these unlawful rules, that is the moment I set myself free. I've never felt more free in the past 18 months because I was able to do exactly what I wanted and not what the government told me to do, because it was the right thing for me and my family.
So have you been contacted by public health since you left? Since, that's a thing now. They check up on you like on a daily basis.
Yeah, so the funny thing was that I did not disclose any of my information, my email or my phone number. None of that was disclosed, but somehow they still have my email, and somehow they're still calling me every day, checking on me if I'm doing my quarantine, even though at the airport I told them I do not consent to forced confinement.
So is it just phone calls, or has anyone shown up at the house?
Nobody's shown up at the house yet, for me specifically. But they have been calling. So this has been third day of the quarantine, and they've called each day since I arrived and sent emails every day.
Emails?
Yes.
Emails and phone calls, but no one's shown up yet. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Curious if they will.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out.
So how do you feel about this new protocol
In Canada?
Yes.
That's a great question, because to me, this is really sad. What's going on in Canada and what's going on in a lot of the Western countries, it sucks, because this is the land of opportunity. This is really why my family has immigrated here when I was 11 years old, because we wanted to work hard, achieve our dreams, and just make the world a better place. That's the reason why we came here. But it was that freedom was the main thing that held everything together here. That freedom to pursue whatever you want, that freedom to open up a business without interrogation from your government, and the freedom to really just pursue your goals. And the government kind of stayed out of your way and let you do your thing. But here, I'm being breached on every level, and I'm being blocked on every level in terms of studying in university, studying at schools. In terms of even crossing the border, I have to go through all these different procedures to cross the border. I have to not work for 2 weeks and lose my pay because of certain mandates that are completely against my rights. And so it really sucks to see such a great country to be turned into a totalitarian state, because that is something I ran away from. That is something my family ran away from, because we had a lot of government involvement in our lives and telling us what to do and how to live our lives. You can't go there. You can't do this. You can't open a business. And that's what we ran away from. And 10 years later, it's this exact same thing is happening here. There's really no difference from what we ran away from to what I came back to in Canada and what we live in.
Was there anyone else around you that was also maskless? Just curious.
So unfortunately, no. The moment we left the plane and we headed over, everybody was wearing a mask. But as soon as I started talking to somebody with, in line, because it was a long line and we were chatting about different things. And as we were chatting, the people would actually take the mask off and chat with me because they saw I didn't have a mask on. So I find that pretty interesting. But it was hundreds of people in the same line, and everybody had a mask. Everybody was complying, and everybody didn't know the law, except for me, I guess, at that moment. And I was just there to stand up for my rights. But again, I was in line for the entire time, and nobody asked me anything. Everybody was nice, and they were just chatting with me like a regular person. It wasn't anything. It wasn't a big deal. As soon as I got to the border security, that's when my warm welcome started.
Okay, so why is it important then to fight against the mandates?
So the importance of this is because all I want to do is accomplish my grandest goals and dreams. And that's why I am in this country. That's why I am in North America trying to accomplish these things, because that's originally the land where you were able to continue pursuing your goals and ultimately achieve them as long as you work hard. And that's not something that you're privileged with in the East, especially the country that I come from. So the reason why you should resist these mandates, and the reason why I resist them, is because it's something that infringes on my goals and dreams. I cannot go to school unless I get a medical treatment. which is completely against freedom. It completely against what Canada stands for. It's completely against not Western society. This is not. It has never been done. It's unheard of.
All right. So, what you dealt with at the airport was pretty intense, but you got through it. Regardless, how are you going to deal with going to school?
The same way. I mean, the schools is just another tool of authority that the government is using. They're imposing their mandates for the schools to set these policies, discriminatory policies against the students. And it works the same way at the border. I mean, at the border you have two lines of unvaccinated and the vaccinated. The same way it works with the universities, where you have students being kicked off from the schools physically and going online because of their medical choices. So the only way to fight this, the only way I see it, is that we are going to have to go through civil disobedience, and it is our duty as good citizens to completely ignore rules that are unjust. So I'm going to continue the same effort. I'm going to continue doing the same thing, not just in universities and not just at the borders, but everywhere I go, wherever there's an authority telling me to put on a mask or show me papers or show me the documents or disclose my medical information. That is where I'm not going to comply, because it is unjust, it is unfair, and it is discriminatory. So the same thing will continue with the schools.
And the universities are supposed to be a place of critical thinking, and yet they are shaming rather, anyone who questions these mandates or has a different opinion. And so, as you were saying, it is vital to stand up against these mandates, and every student needs to do this, right?
Yeah, so when I was studying at York University, and especially in my first couple of years of studying, you could really differentiate a good university professor from a bad one, because the good university professors will allow free thinking and free thought to come into play. They always taught skepticism. They always taught to look at authority and look at it skeptically.
So, one of the questions we get from many students, parents, is, what do I do? Or what does my child do to go to school? Because I don't want to be vaccinated. I don't want to declare my medical status. What do I do? What do you have to say to them?
So what you have to do and what your children have to do is they have to begin non-compliance. They have to stop complying with the government. If you believe that masks are hurting your health, take off your mask and use your mask exemption. If you believe that the vaccine is going to hurt your health, do not take the vaccine and still go to places that require it and hold them accountable for asking you your private medical information. That is the only way all of these mandates will ever be dropped, and all of these mandates will stop being a thing, and it will be a thing of our past. So what you have to do before you go into university and before you send your child to university is you have to educate them to be skeptical of authority and to not follow rules just because authority is imposing them. You have to follow rules because they're the right rules to follow, and you believe in your heart that that is the right thing to do. But if your gut is telling you that that's something that's wrong, then you should not do it. You should completely disobey, and you should ignore those rules, because that's what a good citizen does.
And I know people are afraid to do this. And they're afraid to stand out. And they're afraid of social pressure. But you did it, and you got through it. Now imagine if more than one person did it. Courage begets courage, and you're not going to feel alone. But it really takes one person to start, and you're that one person right now that has started it. And I thank you for that, because we need more people setting an example. So,
is this the conclusion?
Some final thoughts here. Like, stand up to the mandates.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what do you have to lose?
Well, one thing is certain, is that if you are going to pay attention to your peer group's opinions about you, you are always going to be their slave. So do not pay attention to your peer group's opinions about you, because that's none of your business. It doesn't matter what your peer group thinks, whether or not you're wearing a mask or you're vaccinated or not. And if they judge you by that, then that's probably not the right peer group for you to be in. So you really need to evaluate who your friends are, and you really need to start standing up for the things that are right and the things that you actually resonate with. Because if you are going to fake it, if you are going to continue to push that deep down, and you're not going to express who you truly are, it's only going to boil, and you're still going to have to express yourself later in the future. However, at that point, it might be too late, because you're not going to have the freedom to do that. Now, at this point, you still have the freedom to exercise your mask exemption. You still have the freedom to not take the vaccine and go to places that you want to go to, because it is your private medical information, and we are protected under those grounds. So it is something that you should be using and not fearing of your peer group's opinions, because again, you're just going to be their slave.
Absolutely. That was well said. Thank you for telling us what you went through and your experiences, and that you plan to continue to practice noncompliance and civil disobedience to fight back against these mandates, which I think is vital. And I hope that other students, and more than just students, can take up this stance and fight back, because now is the time. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And you can go, okay?
All done?
Yeah, all done.
Excellent.